All right. Good evening, everybody. It's almost 7:30 East Coast time. We're going to get ready to get started. Make sure everybody gets done with the membership part first and foremost. Suddenly got like a library in there. Well, I said we were getting ready to get started. I didn't seem about getting quiet yet, but that's good. Makes it easier. All right, guys, we're going to get started. Good evening, everybody. It is April of 2025. It is our what we call our annual meeting, and it is an election meeting. So we'll get into all that in a second. But if everybody will please stand and face the flag, we will say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right. All right. We have any guests or new members in here tonight? Anybody? All right. Excellent. So I want to go around and introduce everybody that's here that's on the board so you know who everybody is. I am John Knott. I am N4JTK. I'm the president of the organization. Michael Cawley, W4MCO. He is the vice president. And I'm sorry, W4ORL. Too many call signs. Well, no, on the Thursday night net that we do, he does the WinLink check-ins, which has to go to MCO. So in my mind, I have that in my mind. Anyways, W4ORL, vice president and also Hamcation general chairman. On the screen is Treasurer Anna Grow, KM4JVE. And then over on the back side of this, or side over here is Bobbin. Bob Nocero, W4KBW, is our secretary. Christy Moore, right here, front. Current director, KN4MDM. James Dool in the back of the room, N0XIA, he's also a director. Ed Thralls, over on the sides, currently a director, NE4H. Bob Cumming, W2BZY, up here at the front behind me. And I know I just saw Frank walk in. Frank over on the back side here on the side, Frank Tagalani, KD4EZW. Those are the current directors, minus Frank Gerkitz, who is not available to be here because he usually ends up working on Wednesday night, or at least every other Wednesday night. So that's our current board of directors. Please, at any time, if you have any questions, you want to ask the board members anything, we are always here and available to you. Now, let's go around to a guest. You want to put your hands back up in there. All right, we're going to start right here at this corner. If you just want to stand up and introduce yourself, if you have a call sign, let us know what it is.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Neil Monday. My call sign is KR4COQ. I've been doing this for just a few months now, and yeah, just seeing what's around.
Welcome. Saw another one around on this side, I believe. Right there.
Richard Mon, KC4UNE, visiting Florida for a few months from St. Louis.
Welcome. Anybody else in the back right here? All right, one more over here in the back of the room.
Yeah, Hi, everybody. I'm Charlie Santana. November 4, Papa Romeo, Kissimmee, Florida.
Welcome. Thanks. Thank you for being here. All right. So when I became a licensed, oops. Oh, hide behind the pole. Let me come around this side of the.
Good evening. My name's Mike Cardona. I'm KO4VTH. Been it for a little bit, switched to general and got back into it. So here I am.
Welcome to everybody. The funny thing is, about 23 years ago, I guess it was, when I got my license, we were at KG's. You're at KR. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. Test session, Bob.
We had 9 people tonight, and one of which is here. Neil just introduced himself. He upgraded to extra tonight, which is good. But we had 1 new technician, 4 upgrades to general, and of course the 1 upgrade to extra. 3 people take tests and did not succeed.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. We'll go over a couple things for this evening. And we talked a lot about this last month, but again, elections are this month. As of last month, at the end of nominations, the officers, president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer did not have any challenges, so that we are automatically reelected this evening when Bob cast his one and only vote to throw us back into office for another year. And then the directors did have a challenger, Kevin Jackson. He is not here tonight, but his name was on the ballot that went out. So any member that was a member in, with OARC prior to January 1st of this year should have gotten a ballot in their email, okay? And you would have until about 20 more minutes to vote, okay? Voting is cut off at 8 o'clock, so that way we'll know what who the winner is and the directors. We have to have 6 directors by our bylaws. The top 6 directors or nominees on the ballot who gets the most votes will win, and we'll find out what that is in a few minutes, okay? And we'll let everybody know what it is. Picnic. How many of you guys attended the picnic? Excellent. That's good. A lot of people here tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a good time. Hope you got a lot of food. If you've not been to one of our picnics, I hope you plan on being there next year. We haven't scheduled it yet, but we are trying to schedule it around the same time next year, mid-March, as long as we got the pavilion available at the same location. I think the locations worked out very well with everybody. And, you know, the one thing that we can never control is the weather. But with, you know, two pavilions right there, most of everybody can get underneath the covers at least and stuff. And I hope everybody enjoyed the food. I know we did 80 burgers, roughly around 96 hot dogs, and how many pieces of chicken? 96 pieces of chicken. And there was not very much food left over. That's a lot of food. So hopefully everybody ate well. Plus everybody that brought in side dish and stuff, great, appreciate it very much. Much enjoyable. And I hope everybody had a good time, won some raffle items. I have to thank our vendors from Hamcation. They always seem to come through for us each year. They always let us know when your picnic is, send us an email. We'll send you some items, and a good number of them always come through for us. So those are all donated to us through our vendors for Hamcation, and it's very much appreciated. All right, field day. Rich, come up here for a second. All right, so Rich Wilson, WR4RW, no matter which way you, no matter which way you, it's the same way. He is the field day chairman for Lamar's, and we did this 2 years ago.
Not last year, but
It was 2 years we did. And OARC and Lamar's joined forces together to do field day. It worked out very well. We had actually a pretty decent attendance. We did it separately last year, and we both had not so good of attendance. Okay. So we are joining forces again this year at field day and we're going to help Lamar's. Don't know all the situation yet. You know, we're in talks yet. You just got back from being on the road for a couple of weeks. So you're trying to get your thoughts together and get things rolling on your end. Maybe next month you can give us more of a rundown for field day.
Sure.
And stuff. But we are looking for, lots of volunteers. This is a perfect opportunity for anybody that's never worked field day or never have been on HF before to get on HF. Okay. It's a perfect opportunity to, do your first QSO on HF, to see what it's all about, especially if you're a technician. Even technicians can get on the air that weekend at field day. You have to do it at field day under Lamar's call sign, where you have mentors there. And you can get on the air and be able to make your first QSOs, make contacts, see what it's all about. Hopefully it sparks a little interest, makes you want to get into HF even more. Again, we don't know all the details. Food's going to be provided, snacks will get provided, drinks will be provided. We need people to help set up. We need people to operate the radios, and we're going to need people to help tear down everything. And we'll get all those details in the next month or so once we get all the thoughts together and stuff. But the most important part is, please write this down. Save June 28th and 29th on your calendar for field day weekend. All right. It is a Saturday, Sunday. All right. We may start early on Friday just to set up some antennas. I don't know what your plans are yet.
There'll be some activity on Friday afternoon, but it'll mostly be things arriving in the field.
Okay. All those details will come out here soon, but again, just save the dates. And we'd love to have you guys come out and help out, operate, and learn more about amateur radio. Yes, I'm sorry. It's going to be at, yeah, you want to do that part?
Sure.
I'll mess it up.
Okay. I'll tell you where it's going to be, and I'll tell you why it should be there. It's going to be at Central Winds Park. Now, there's a field day locator, ARRL field day locator, and we're already registered in there. We're N4EH, which might sound familiar to you. He's an E4H, drives us nuts on field day. So, yeah, that's true too. Anyway, one thing about field day, did you get as much Central Winds Park in Winter Springs? Yeah. So it's a big park. We've done field day there any number of times. So we'll have some new twists this year, but we're not going to reinvent the wheel, and it should be a good time. We have a lot of food. This is for Lamar's. This is our Hamcation picnic or whatever. We like to invite all of our members, and and we do a good food show, and so nobody is going to go away hungry either. The good thing about putting together a field day between our two clubs is we get to meet each other, and that's pretty cool. And that was really great the last time we did this. But most importantly, we want everybody to realize that we want everybody to come out to the field day, because we are a very friendly club. I'm speaking about Lamar's, and we want. No, that came out wrong. Okay, let me try that again. Yeah, I'll just give up.
There goes
You know what I
Lamar's
mean?
donation
We want
check.
everybody to know that they're invited, and then we want everybody to
Hey,
come.
Rich, there went Lamar's donation check.
Sir?
There went Lamar's donation check. We are friendly, right?
No hablo. Yeah. All right. I'm going to sit down. I need to write this stuff down before I do it again. You're all invited. I'll have more information next month, and it'll be a great time.
Central Winds Park. It's in Winter Springs. It's off of 434. Does everybody know what you know the story behind Lake Jessup? It's on the southern end of Lake Jessup. Lake Jessup is probably one of the most populated lakes in the state of Florida with alligators. Okay. Last time I think they did a census, over 13,000 gators in that lake. Don't get too close to the edge, because I don't think anybody's going to sit there and run after you and get you, because there's too many gators in that lake. Okay. So don't get too close to the lake. So yeah, don't let the dogs up. All right. So more information coming on field day. I'm going to tell you now, guys, it is June. It is the end of June. If you've lived in Florida any length of time, it's very warm. Be prepared. Okay. You're going to sweat in places you don't normally sweat at. Okay. You might want to bring change of clothes, dry clothes, all right, towels to dry off with, just because there's so much sweat coming off of you. Make sure you stay hydrated. It is Florida in June. I'm not a big fan of field day in June. I'll be honest with you. I would do winter field day all year long if I could, other than it's 2 weeks before Hamcation for us. But winter field day is much more pleasant than summer field day temperature wise. Okay. All right. Florida QSO party coming up on April the 26th and 27th. If you want more information about Florida QSO party, go to floridaqsoparty.org. Okay. Hope you guys will plan on participating in it, especially you contesters. All right. Ham radio classes. Been talking about this for a very long time. It's finally coming around. All right. So we will be hosting technician classes, okay, on May the 31st and June 1st. We still could use anybody that's interested in being an instructor for those classes. If you've not done instruction before, we invite you to come out for the weekend and just observe. If you don't have to get in front of the class that weekend, if you want to learn how we do it, we'll make up the slack. We'll make sure we have enough instructors for all the different sections there are. There's 20 different sections of the book that we're going to cover in 2 days. All right, to sign up for the classes, all you have to do is go to our website, oarc.org. At the top of the page is events and classes. Click that, and then click amateur radio classes, and then follow the directions on signing up for, or if you know somebody that wants to take a class, they can do so. The class is free. The test is free that we will provide you at the end of class on Sunday. However, the book will cost you a little bit of money, around $25 on average. Okay. And we use the Gordon West book, the latest edition, the 2022 to 2026. Please make sure if anybody's taking that class, they get the right book. And also, the federal government always wants a little bit of the piece of the pie when they get their license. So have to pay the $35 first before they actually get their license. Okay. Those are the only two costs involved. All right. Everything else is free. Now, cutoff for the classes is around the end of April, maybe around the 1st of May. And the reason for that is when they sign up for the class, we send them all the information of the book they need to get, the usually kind of a little bit of the outline of what's going to happen that weekend, and we give them a homework assignment. And that homework assignment is basically about the size of our newsletter. If you ever printed our newsletter off of the website, it's about the size of the newsletter. They have to open the book. They're not going to pass the class over that weekend if they have not opened the book, unless they're already electronically minded and that type of stuff, which rare to have that happen. However, of all the classes that we've done prior to the pandemic, which we've done plenty, we've never had anybody fail the class. They've always got their license at the end. The main important thing is they have to open the book. So the reason why I'm telling you guys this, most of you guys are already licensed. Why are you telling me this? I don't need a license. If you have friends, neighbors, anybody, family members are interested in getting their license, this is a perfect opportunity. Okay. Once this one is done, we will plan a second class this year, which will probably be a general class license class. It's a mouthful. Okay. Don't know dates or anything on that one yet. We have this little thing in Florida called hurricane season. We have to get by that somewhat too. We always, we do these classes at the Emergency Operations Center for Orange County over in East Winter Park. So obviously hurricane season can be an impact on whether we get to have a class that weekend if we choose the wrong weekend, or hurricane decides to come around the same weekend we have a class. So there's a little bit of planning on that part. May 31st and June 1st, we should be okay. But sometimes we have some early storms, but typically not. So does anybody have any questions on anything we discussed or anything particular, especially the classes? I want to make sure everybody's got their questions answered. Yes. Last year we were at the same place we had the picnic, which is Bill Frederick Park. No, actually the trailers that they have and stuff do have air conditioning in them. Not all the positions or not every station will have a trailer, but there are several trailers that have it and they have air conditioning. Okay. There's still air conditioning. Except for the satellite guys. So anyways, again, we want everybody to come out and participate. It is a warm weekend, but we'd love to have you guys out there to participate and to operate radios. We're going to get a sign up list going for the different positions, the different stations and different time slots, so that way you select your own time slot. There's at least 2 people per position or per station, one to operate the radio, one to log. Okay. Or flip them, I say after an hour or so, you flip positions. So each of you have a chance to log and operate a radio. Now we'll go for 24 hours, pending weather, I assume. I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to do this in lightning. Okay. So, I mean, there's safety always a concern. So, we take all that in fact. Again, if you're a tech, anybody that just passed the tech exam tonight, if you don't have your general class by obviously field day, but you're still interested, it's a good time to come out and learn amateur radio. It's a good time to ask questions. There's a lot of people out there that you can ask questions. Okay. All right. If no other questions, I'm going to go around to the board real quick, see if they have anything. After which, we're going to go ahead and take our break. After the break, we have Ward Silver, who's actually on screen already. He's already joined our meeting. Ward is going to be doing a presentation on grounding and bonding for home and mobile HF stations. Folks, we live in Florida. All right. We have lots of lightning. Good time to make sure you have grounding and bonding up to date. We also have, look at last night, especially lived in South Orange County, North Osceola County. We have 2 of our door prizes tonight is Ward's latest book from the ARRL, Grounding and Bonding for Radio Amateur. And we also have one of those nice little whip antennas from Signal Sticks, which is a dual band antenna with a SMA on it. Connector. All right. Let me go around to the board real quick. I'm going to start with Bobbin. Bobbin, where you at? Do you have anything so that we can start getting stuff out? Okay. Bobbin's going to start getting the donuts and coffee out. Michael? Nothing? Anna?
I don't have anything, but I would like to win that iPhone that's next to the antenna.
It's my iPhone. Turn the camera off. No. All right. Let's see. Bob C. Anything? Ed?
Yes. Got 2 things coming up on our presentations. Some of you may not know, but I've been the coordinator for our educational programs for the last couple of years. And May will be kind of a chance for you to participate in the program. We'll be talking about field day again. There was a survey sent out not too long ago where club members responded to field day questions. And we'd like to answer some of those questions and also maybe push a little more interest in field day. And then in August, we're going to have Ask an Elmer. Ask your friend, what kind of questions do you have about ham radio? We will have some people up here like a panel to answer your questions, but we don't have all the answers. Some of you actually have the answers, and we're looking forward to your participation, not only with the questions, but also helping with the answers. And that'll be in August. Thank you.
Excellent. Appreciate that. James, anything? Good. Christy? You good? All right. Frank T? Anything? Good. All right. So make sure that you've gotten your blue ticket when you come in, because we'll do drawings at the end of the presentation. If you have not gotten one, please make sure you see Rick. He will give you one. In just a second, coffee and donuts will be available. Please come back about, I'm going to say about 7 minutes after 8. He has about 10 minutes. Okay. And then at that time, Ed will introduce Ward, and Ward will do his presentation tonight. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. All right, folks, there's still donuts back here. Come feed the diabetes. All right, everybody, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Everybody want to start making their way back to their seats? All right, I have 7 minutes after 8. We're going to get started. We have a presenter that is eagerly waiting to present to us tonight, taking time out of his busy week and evening. And we also have some results in the election. That's after the party. All right. So as I stated before, elections, give these results fairly quickly so we can get Ward onto his presentation. Last month at the end of nominations, the officers did not have any challengers. So the officers would be duly reelected with Bob casting his official, we'll say virtual vote. Okay. And then the election results came in for the directors. We had one challenger this time, Kevin Jackson, AA3XV, challenge the current incumbents to become a director himself. I can sit there and say that there will be no change in directors. Kevin gave a really good challenge to everybody. I want to sit there and say a huge thank you to Kevin for standing up and say, "Hey, I'd like to be a director," and running for a director's position. I also want to sit there and tell Kevin, although he's not here tonight, don't give up, because Ed, 2 years in a row, tried to become a director, didn't get elected, then we had a vacancy come up on the board and say, well, the guy that's been running the past 2 years and hasn't been gotten in, be a prime candidate to come on and sit on the board. So we appointed Ed as a replacement to that director's position. So with that, you got up on there. So there was four other ballots that were not included in this one due to a technical error with a Rick's database. We sent the same ballot to those four individuals. Only one person voted, and it wouldn't make a change in the how the tally would. Okay, so Bob Cumming, James Dool, Frank Gerkitz, Christy Moore, Frank Tagalani, and Ed Thralls will all be reelected into office as a director. And to Kevin, huge thank you to Kevin. Kevin is a great individual, very knowledgeable, especially in the antennas and space, satellite type stuff. We'll have elections again in 12 months. So with that, let me turn it over to Ed. Ed's going to introduce Ward.
Good evening, Ward. How you doing? I'm Ed.
I'm doing just
Thank
fine.
you very much for your willingness to join us and make us smarter. We hope. Ward has been a ham since 1972 when he earned his novice license of WN0GQP. His experiences in ham radio led him to a 20-year career as an electrical engineer, designing microprocessor-based products and medical devices. In 2000, he began a second career as a teacher and writer, leading to his receiving the Bill Orr Technical Writing Award in both 2003 and 2016. In 2008, he was recognized as Dayton's Hamvention Ham of the Year, and he was inducted into the CQ Contest Hall of Fame in 2015. Ward is the lead editor for two primary amateur radio technical references, both published by ARRL. The ARRL Handbook and the ARRL Antenna Book. His most recent ARRL book, Grounding and Bonding for Radio Amateurs, will be two of our door prizes this evening. On the air, Ward enjoys DXing, contesting, building antennas, and participating in his local emergency communications team. He's a founder of the World Radio Sport Team Championships and president of the YASME Foundation Board of Directors. I've worked him in contests in 2021, 2024, and 2025. And again, thank you very much, Ward, for sharing your evening with us, and we'd appreciate it. This floor is yours.
Okay, well, thanks. Hey, who writes those bio things anyway? That's good. I guess I have one small commercial presentation, and that is the Ham Radio for Dummies book, now in its fourth mighty edition with Wiley. So that's my commercial content for the evening. And thank you very much for the invitation and the kind words at the beginning. So let's see about sharing the screen, and we'll get this guy underway, and let's do a slideshow from the beginning. That's great. Now let's confirm. You should be seeing a title slide, Grounding and Bonding for Home Stations. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Okay. And is my audio level okay?
Very good.
Okay. Superb. All right. Well, let's jump right in. The goals of the presentation for this evening, going to understand the difference between ground and bond. They're often used interchangeably. and incorrectly, and at least ground has several meanings. So we have to be careful about that. And it's kind of key to understand both of those concepts. Then it'll help to appreciate the different requirements for AC safety, meaning your power wiring system, lightning protection, that's important where you live, and RF in the shack, whether you like it or not. So we'll talk about managing that. And then we'll go through some issues and techniques for home HF stations, which is the basic topic associated with this talk. And this is not a cookbook talk, nor is the book. It's such a broad topic that basically it's more of a toolbox talk that gives you some ideas about how to approach the problems. And then you go to your station and you figure out what your situation is and your budget and your resources, and then you apply some of the things in your toolbox. And we'll learn how a common system of grounding and bonding satisfies all the requirements for these three systems: AC safety, lightning protection, and RF. You don't have to make three separate systems. You can make one, do it right once, and covers for all three. And then at the end, I provide comprehensive resources for the interested reader. And I have provided the club with a set of PDF slides that can be shared. They're not copyrighted. So you don't have to worry about writing down all the URLs and things. And as far as ham radio references go, a lot of the material is in this talk is in the ARRL handbook and the ARRL antenna book. I've recently handed off editorship to Greg Lapin, N9GL, for the handbook, and I don't know who the next editor of the antenna book will be. But during my tenure as editor, I was able to get a lot of material about grounding and bonding into these two handbooks. So if you have a recent copy, you can look in the sections on station construction, and it will be in there. Lightning protection for the amateur station is a series of 3 articles from 2002 QST. They are freely available on the ARRL website. Go to the technology tab and then look for safety. And they're freely available to everybody. I hope you're an ARRL member, but even if you're not, you can get to them. They're very good articles. Ron has also just released a brand new book called Lightning Protection, and I have a copy right here. And it says Lightning Protection, and it's available online, and I just wrote a review of it for QST, and I believe that will be in the May issue, if not before. Ron is one of the polyphaser guys, and he really knows his stuff. He won a QST cover plaque for a 2023 article, I think, on lightning protection. Another really good reference, there's 2 by Jim Brown, K9 Yankee Charlie, and his website is k9yc.com/publish.htm. There is no L at the end, it's not HTML, but if you just search for K9YC tutorials, you'll find it. His power, grounding, bonding, and audio for amateur radio is really good. Jim's a retired audio engineer and deals with, has dealt with this type of situation. And his RFI, ferrites, and common mode chokes for hams is really the current amateur radio Bible on ferrites, along with the ferrite catalog and some fairly technical publications. Jim's website is just full of good material. So those are 2 important online resources for you. WHAI, he lives on a mountaintop in Georgia and has a 300-foot tower. He knows a lot about lightning. So learned hands-on there. His website, WHAI.com, is full of good stuff, and he has material on ground systems. And if you're interested in mobile operation and grounding and bonding there, go to the K0BG, Bravo Golf website. That's your Bible for mobile stations. And of course, my favorite reference is the prize that you have tonight, Grounding and Bonding for the Radio Amateur. It's not expensive. I do not make any money off of sales of this book. It's a real good tool to have, and it explains a lot of good stuff. It covers all these three different systems: AC wiring, lightning protection, and RF management. And the real good stuff in here was that it was reviewed by a number of experts. I wrote it, but they kept me out of the weeds, corrected, enhanced, revised, added to it. Number of experts, including Ron Block, who we just mentioned, and Jim Brown, plus the ARL lab, and a couple of lightning experts, including Dale Svetnoff, WA9ENA. So it's full of really practical information. And it's got numerous examples for you to use and hopefully steer you in the right direction. It's a toolbox. So let's plow right in here. Ground, as we understand it electrically, has different meanings. It can be a noun, which is an earth connection. That's what it means. And that's usually used with respect to AC or lightning. And it can also be a local reference potential or voltage. It's your ground for a circuit, for example, and at RF, it's a local reference potential. For example, they might talk about ground on an aircraft electrical system, but it's not connected to the earth. I've never seen a plane dragging a chain or anything. It's just the local reference voltage. So that's when it's a noun. It can also be a verb, which is an action, which means I'm going to connect something to the reference potential. I'm going to ground this wire. I'm going to ground this enclosure. I'm going to ground this high voltage capacitor, that kind of thing. And it can be an adjective, which describes a type of connection, such as a ground conductor or a ground system. And so you can see how it's a kind of an overloaded word, and it can mean all of these things at the same time. So you hear sentences like, well, I'm grounding the chassis to ground with a ground wire. And each one of those grounds has a different meaning. So you have to be careful about which one you're referring to. The British have decided that this was just too confusing, and they have wisely decided to use the word earth or earthing for the noun, where you're talking about connecting something to the actual physical earth, or verb to connecting something to the earth. So it means the earth or connecting to the earth. But here in America, the tradition is to use ground for all these purposes. So you have to be very careful. A couple of myths about ground. We tend to think of the earth as some kind of a magic sink into which RF and lightning and hazard currents and all that kind of thing, if we've got a ground rod in there, it just magically goes in there and safely disappears. Suddenly everything's at 0 volts on the earth, and that's really not true. We also tend to think the same thing about a vehicle body. The earth is a very complex medium. It has rocks, it has different layers of dirt, it has water in it, it's dry, it's not dry, what have you. And so it's not a magic 0 volt reference. It's got resistance, so current flowing through it will cause a voltage drop. And so you have to think about Earth as a place where you might want charge to dissipate, for example, from a lightning strike, but you don't want to connect to it just thinking that it's going to all of a sudden make everything at 0 volts from DC to daylight. Doesn't work that way. And we also have some fuzzy definitions. First of all, RF ground is wildly overused. There really ain't no such thing. There is no way to create a 0 volt reference for all frequencies at RF from the high kilohertz all the way up into the microwave. So what we can do is maybe make a 0 volt reference over a narrow little frequency range or something, but we don't really have a RF ground, meaning a wide spectrum 0 volt reference. So I try not to use the word except in very careful circumstances. And also ground loops. You hear a lot about, well, you can't have any ground loops. You're not going to get rid of them. If you look around behind your equipment, even in a modest station, a ground loop is any continuous path that goes between the enclosures of equipment in a loop. So if you have two cables, coaxial cables, connected to SO239s on each end of on each end of the cable, and they're connected to two different enclosures, you will have a ground loop through those cables. And if you look at your station, even small stations, there will be at least dozens and maybe hundreds of possible paths through your equipment, and you're not going to get rid of those things. So you can't get rid of ground loops. It really came about as a power problem and power getting into audio because magnetic fields induce voltages in loops. So yes, you might want to minimize ground loops in those environments, but as far as an amateur station goes, you really can't get rid of them. You can manage them. You can wire up and bond your station so that they have a minimal effect. That's what we're aiming for. And then there's the term single point ground. And single point ground came about, again, out of the audio and AC field. And what it means is a connection that's to a point that's so small electrically that you can treat it as being actually all the same no matter what you connect to it. It's very electrically small and very low impedance. That's a very difficult thing to do at RF. And by connecting all of your ground wires to a single point, you actually increase the size of the ground loops that are associated with this stuff and make it even easier for magnetic fields and RF to cause trouble. So we're going to use the term single point ground carefully and primarily as it's associated with AC safety and lightning protection. So in each one of these requirements, AC and lightning protection and RF management, they use the term ground differently. So we have to be very careful. So let's jump over to the definition of bonding. We're all bonding right now. I'm bonding with you guys. This is great. But in electrical terms, bonding is defined as a connection intended to keep 2 points at the same voltage. That's it. That's the definition of bonding. It doesn't talk about frequency. It doesn't talk about current capacity. It doesn't talk about the types of material or anything else. It's just a connection between 2 points to keep them at the same voltage. So that's pretty simple. The idea is why bonding is useful in the ham radio station is that then everything goes up and down together. And that you'll see me talk about this over and over again. It's really important to have everything at the same voltage going up and down together. When you minimize voltage differences, you also minimize current flow. Current flow is caused by a voltage difference. If the voltage between 2 points is 0 volts, there will be no current flow. And current flow is what causes shock hazards and lightning surge, destructive voltage differences, and RFI. It's current getting to where it should not be that causes the trouble. So it's like a floating dock. And I know a lot of you have experience with boats down there. You want that dock to go up and down so that when a wave comes along, it doesn't tear up the dock or break the boats away from the dock. You want everything going up and down together. And it's a very simple idea, and it works the same way electrically. So on the AC side of things, when you have everything bonded together, it prevents shock hazards and voltage differences. If you've got every piece of metal equipment in your station connected together, then you won't have one piece of equipment at, say, 115 volts because there's a insulation fault or something like that, and another at 0 volts with respect to your AC system. So that's a shock hazard. So by bonding everything together, you minimize that shock hazard. when you have a lightning surge, when Mr. Lightning comes to call and you have a big current through your station for whatever reason, whether it's in the antenna part or the transmitter or whatever, when you have everything bonded together, it goes up and down together, then you don't get this terrible destructive voltage surge where one part of the station goes way up and the other part of the station is still down here. So you get a lot of current flow. That's what drives the destructive current flow, is the voltage difference. So if you can get all of the equipment to go up and down together, you can minimize the destructive voltage differences. That's what bonding does for you. It also limits current between devices. When you pick up RF from your local signal, or you have a transmitter nearby or something, and when you've got everything bonded together, that means the voltage difference is minimized, and that means the RF current flowing is also minimized. And that's what causes RFI. It's not the voltage, it's the current getting where it should not be. So if you can minimize the current, you can minimize your RFI, and you do that by bonding. So bonding is an important part of station design. Well, what makes bonding work? Well, it has to be low impedance. You don't want a lot of impedance between point A and point B. If you have impedance and you have a voltage difference, well, you're going to have current, and that's going to create a current drop. So low impedance is good at whatever frequency we're talking about, 60 hertz or microwaves. And it has to be electrically short. And that means much less than a 20th of a wavelength is my general rule of thumb. If it gets longer than that, it starts to act like a transmission line or an antenna. And it suddenly, instead of being a 0 ohm piece of whatever you've got, it suddenly starts to act like an inductor. And then it acts like an open. When you get to a quarter wavelength, it'll act like an infinite number of ohms. And then as you get it longer still, it'll act like a capacitor. And it has to be a half wavelength long before it gets back to 0. So you want to keep your conductors short, electrically short, at the frequency of interest. At AC, at 60 hertz, the wavelength is something like 50 million meters. So making something electrically short is not that difficult. You can have a building and it's all electrically small. But what's the wavelength at 20 meters? Trick question. It's 20 meters. So what's a 20th of a wavelength? A meter. So if your ground conductor here, or your bonding conductor rather, is more than a meter long, it's going to start acting like an inductor. And that has impedance at RF. And the higher in frequency you go, the shorter the wavelength gets, and the harder it is to keep these connections short. The bonding conductor also has to be heavy enough to carry the expected current. If we're talking about AC safety, and we want to carry the short circuit so that if you want to carry the short circuit so that your protective devices remove power, then that bonding conductor has to be heavy enough to carry a short circuit current. So if you have a 20 amp circuit, it has to be at least able to carry 20 amps. If we're talking about lightning protection, like outside or at a tower base, and you might get hit by a kiloamp or higher current, then you have to have really heavy conductors. That's why the spec is for number 6, number 4, number 2, lots of copper. So it's heavy enough to carry the expected current without vaporizing. And if you want to have a small wire, it may do the job for a little while, but if it gets hit for a big surge of current, it'll make a nice green lightning bolt, and suddenly you won't have a wire anymore. So it also has to be mechanically sturdy enough to survive the environment. And that means, for example, when you're burying wires outside that serve as ground radials or a bonding system outside for your perimeter ground, it has to be heavy enough to withstand what happens to things that are buried outside. for example, up here in the Midwest, not down there, but up here in the Midwest, it freezes. So you get frost heaves, and you might drive over it. Maybe your car, or you back a truck into the yard or something like that. And if you break your conductor, you might not know. You might suddenly not have that connection that you were counting on. And for example, you might put a grounding conductor out there in the yard, and then suddenly you're trying to get the garden ready, and you run the rototiller over that wire. If you only have a number 12 or a number 14, it might snap right there, and you would never know. But if it's heavy, and that's why building codes talk about these number 6 and up, it'll make its presence known. Let's put it that way. You can't stick a shovel in the yard and just casually break it. Don't ask me how I know about the rototillers, okay? But it needs to be sturdy. And if you're going to have a lightning ground and you expect to carry a lightning surge, the forces on that wire are stupendous. In a big lightning surge, you can have 500 pounds per foot on your conductor, and it will bend, it'll whip around, it'll break, it'll snap, it'll yank on stuff. It's called the Coulomb force, and it can be substantial. So any kind of a grounding or bonding thing that's going to carry lightning size currents has to be really big. Okay, enough scary stuff. Back in the ham station, what do you use for bonding? Well, the military and commercial standard is to use strap, at least 1 inch wide, maybe more, and they specify 20 gauge strap. And if you have a relative who's in the roofing business and they have some scrap flashing or something, that's good stuff to have available. It's kind of expensive to buy new. But we're ham radio operators, and I know that we never, ever, ever throw anything away. So all of that Romex that you cut off 3 pieces of, 3-foot pieces of, or 6-foot pieces of, and you said, boy, I'm going to use those someday, number 14 or number 12. By golly, that is terrific stuff to use for bonding. And it works just as well as a wider strap. So go ahead, get that stuff out of the box under your workbench and strip out the wires. The wires do not have to be bare. They can be insulated, and that works pretty well. If you've got to move your equipment around, you might use that flat weave silver tinned braid. And you see that in automotive and equipment installations where you might have vibration or equipment that has to move. It's okay to use that kind of braid, but you've got to protect it from moisture and chemicals. It has to remain dry. If it doesn't, if it's not dry, if the water gets in there or chemicals get in there, it starts to corrode. And if you look closely, you can see all those little wires that are tightly held together by that weaving process. Well, if water gets in there, they corrode, and suddenly, instead of good connections between all those wires, they start to get grungy. That's the technical term. And a grungy connection causes all sorts of noise and RF problems. So don't use braid where it's going to get wet or get chemicals on it. Dirt counts as a chemical. They do sell straps protected by a plastic sleeve, and you can get those at auto parts stores. Everybody wants to use exposed braid from old coax. Don't do it. I have done it, I confess, and then I was educated about this, and I go, okay, so what happens when I take the jacket off of that piece of old coax that I don't want to use at RF anymore? Say, okay, boy, look at that. Got shiny copper stuff, all the little wires are in there and everything. And the minute I take that jacket off, what is that jacket there for? It protects the braid from water and it protects it from oxygen. Both of those are bad for electrical connections. And so that braid immediately begins to deteriorate. Furthermore, the jacket compresses all of those little connections together and holds those wires firmly together inside the coax. And so when you take the jacket off, they immediately start to loosen up. In fact, you probably loosen it up to get the center conductor out. So you've already damaged the ability of the braid to work at RF. And I'd like to introduce everybody to the kitty. This is Electra, and she hears me talking and comes up to keep an eye on me during my presentations. So if you want to use the old coax, leave the jacket alone. If it's got a little hole in it or something, put some tape on it. Waterproof each end and put a terminal on it. And you just treat it as a BAW, a big ass wire. Okay, so leave it in the jacket. It's fine that way. Okay, and you can use it as a ground wire. So when you're doing this bonding, okay, and we've talked, I'll just go over this again. It works in your favor for AC safety, lightning protection, and RF management. It's not a bad idea if you're rebuilding a station or something like that. Just pay attention to bonding, and when you're creating a portable station like at field day or something like that, you might want to have some heavy jumper clips. And here's a tip: at field day, you can just put a piece of aluminum foil under your equipment and connect to it with all the clip leads, and by golly, you've got a great little RF management system right there. Okay, let's jump to AC safety ground. Grounding for AC safety has several names depending on where you are in the country and how old your electrician is. The current standard wording of grounding for AC safety is called equipment ground, and that is the reference that when they talk about the green wire or the third wire or something like that, what they mean is the equipment ground, and it's a connection between the metal enclosure or any exposed metal on a piece of equipment and the reference point inside your AC distribution system. The ground connections have to be low resistance. We talked about this before. They have to be able to carry all of the short circuit or fault current back to the AC reference point so that the protective devices, circuit breakers, or fuses, will open up and remove power from the affected circuit. This is to prevent fires. So that's why your ground connection has to be low resistance. And it only has two purposes. It provides a path back to the AC common point for your fault currents, which shorts also leakage current in case you have degraded insulation or something. And it also stabilizes the AC power system voltage when there is a fault or a transient, such as lightning. And if you go out and look at your power poles or you look at your transformer systems, whatever you've got, all of them have some kind of a ground connection. And that helps the AC power system maintain a stable, well-regulated voltage by all these connections to the earth. But that's the only reason you have equipment grounds. It has nothing to do with lightning protection and has nothing to do with RF management. Okay, if you aren't sure you know what you're doing when you open up that AC service panel and start installing things, or you want to work on stuff in your house. Now I know we're all federally licensed radio amateurs, and therefore we know everything, but you know, it's getting really complicated. If you go and you look at all the devices that are available in the electrical department of the big box stores, it's kind of scary, all the different options. So get a how-to reference. Here's a really good one. And this is the previous edition of the book that's on your screen there. It's very inexpensive. They're anywhere from $15 to $20. You can order them online. They generally have something like this in the big box stores, and they are really good. They have pictures, they have explanations, and they show you how to do all these different connections. I'm pretty sure we could all run a branch circuit from a circuit breaker in the box to a wall, to our station, whatever. But when you start doing strange things with all the dimmers and the controllers and, oh my gosh, a three-way switch, all this kind of stuff. It's not obvious, and we're not all born knowing how to do this. So get a how-to book and follow it very carefully. To follow the National Electrical Code, if you want to get into that, say with new construction, or you're putting in a new subpanel or something like that, then you want to get the NEC handbook. The National Electrical Code is a little book, and all it is a list of rules. It doesn't tell you anything about how to follow the rule or why the rule is there. What you want is the NEC handbook, and it's available at your library. It's pretty imposing. Look at the size of this thing. Okay, but all you're really interested in for most hands is Article 250, meaning the section of a chapter, and Article 800, and those deal with grounding and antennas respectively. So the nice thing about the NEC handbook is it's full of pictures and rationale and discussion. So it gives you the NEC rule, and it says why that rule is there, how to follow it, and if it's important enough, they'll actually have some drawings to show you how to do it right. So it's available at your library. It's available online. This is not expensive. There's so many copies out there, and any recent edition will be up to code, so to speak, on those two articles. And I got this for like $35 online. I think the shipping was more than the book. Anyway, you can go to the library and check it out and copy the sections you want. In particular, follow the special rules for subpanels and outbuildings. A lot of hams install a subpanel in a workshop or in their station, and maybe they even build a shack to put their shack in. Or maybe they run some electricity out to a garage or a garden shed or something. There are special rules for subpanels and outbuildings. Look them up and follow them. People are electrocuted every year by improper wiring of subpanels and outbuildings. It's really easy to create a shock hazard that connects you to the earth, and you act as the equipment ground for a connection back to the AC subpanel. That's bad. So look up those special rules. It's not obvious all the time why you would use one configuration or another, but these are there to keep you safe and stop you from burning down the house. So it's published by the National Fire Protection Agency, which ought to tell you a lot right there. But I can't stress it enough. Look up those special rules. And finally, if you're not sure about what you're doing, hire a professional electrician to do the work, or maybe have them come over and look at what you've done and say, great job, thanks. Or, you know, you really don't want to do it that way, or that's obsolete, or something like that. And it saves you a lot of time and trouble. And you just don't want to mess around with electricity. Remember that local code, although it is aggravating at times, is the law. And it's not there to make your life miserable. It's there to make your life longer. So follow it. Every jurisdiction has different types of building codes. Most of them are based on the NEC, but they might also have special sections that deal with special circumstances in your area, like soil chemistry or OOFR grounds that use the concrete slab in your house. Anyway, know what the local code is. Hire an electrician who does. Well, let's go over to Mr. Lightning. I'm going to take a little drink of water and improve my grounding here. Okay, let's remember that lightning comes from way up there or way down there, and anyway, the two meet in the middle somewhere. You can't steer it, okay? You're not going to, unless you're maybe the military or a commercial tower manufacturer, you're not going to steer lightning. It's going to go where it wants to go, but you can help lightning make good decisions, okay? You make it work in your favor. What does it want? It wants heavy, direct paths to the earth to dissipate charge in the ground, or at least dissipate a charge imbalance between the ground, meaning the earth, and the cloud, okay? Give it to them. Give it to Mr. Lightning. Heavy direct paths to the earth it will follow those. That's where the charge wants to go. It's just like any other current. It wants to go on the path of least impedance or resistance. When we're talking about lightning protection is a pulse. It's a very fast pulse. And so it has a lot of AC components in